When looking to eat clean, there are 3 things you really need to make sure you're getting in your diet: protein, complex carbs, and healthy fats. There are also 3 things you need to make sure you're avoiding: sugar, salt, and bad fats. But before we get into all that, we need to take a look at exactly why you need to improve your diet and what's wrong with the bad diet. So improving your diet will help you out with aesthetics, which most people know about, but it'll also help you with your mood. You need to understand how this diet will change your life so that you can understand the full severity of why you need to adhere to it. When you start onto a better diet, you're going to start noticing the motivation to do things that you never would have wanted to do before. You're going to feel better, and you're going to have the energy to get to things that you would have thought would take years for you to do, and you've been thinking about but never actually been able to do it. Tackling a new diet is going to be a big change, and it might be difficult at times, but I'm not gonna lie about that and just try and get more views on my videos. It is difficult, but if you adhere to the rules that I'm gonna put out for you, you will get to the point where you want to be, and your diet will improve. Your mood will improve, your aesthetics will improve, and you'll feel better about yourself every day. I'm going to give you a balanced diet that you can actually adhere to for the rest of your life. Not one that tells you you can eat a slice of cake every day as a part of moderation, and also not one that says you can't eat a single gram of sugar and ostracizes you from reality. No, I'm going to give you a balanced diet backed by research that I personally adhere to and will bring you more results than you ever could have dreamed of. Now for everyone's favorite ingredient: protein. The kids at my school seem to be obsessed with protein, and there's like a ton of hype about it flying about. They will go to the store and try to get pre-bought items with as much protein as possible, but that's not the way to go about it. So instead of buying your Quest bar with 21 grams of protein, you'd actually be better off just getting a nice whole chicken breast, because you'll get more protein and you'll feel full for longer. Some other ways to get more protein throughout the week are, instead of using cold cuts in your sandwiches, replace them with real meat like chicken breast, turkey breast, or even rotisserie chicken if you like. And if you're gonna make your packed lunches throughout the week, then make yourself some chicken or some fish ahead of time, and then pack yourself with it throughout the week, right? Lasts much longer cooked than uncooked. And a general rule of thumb, because people are always asking how much protein they should eat, and there's a bunch of confusion, the general rule of thumb for how much protein to eat is 0.5 to 0.9 grams of protein per day, right? 0.9 And if you're wondering how much protein you should eat throughout the day, the answer is around 0.5 to 0.9 grams of protein per pound of body weight in a day. This is a general range, and it's very wide. You just need to make sure you're about falling in the middle of this range. If you're getting started, you're going to be under this range, so just start adding protein to your diet. It's hard to eat too much protein, right? As long as you're feeling full throughout the day from what you're eating, and you don't need to eat a bunch of powders to get your protein in, you're good. Now, if you want to eat healthier for a better mood and more attractive physique, there's 3 things you're going to have to avoid like the plague. It's okay to have them every once in a while, and you probably should. I'm all for moderation, but you should try to decrease your intake of them as much as possible. Alright, so the first one is sugar. You probably guessed it, but eating too much sugar has actually been shown to lead to higher blood pressure, inflammation, weight gain, diabetes, and fatty liver disease, as well as a slew of emotional problems like depression, anxiety, and memory loss. So please do yourself a favor and cut back on your sugar. As a general rule, you shouldn't be eating more than 30 grams of added sugar per day, but in reality, you should eat much less than that. Do this by actually looking at the nutrition label on the back of the food that you buy. Be that guy. Just be a little bit conscious, and if you see something that's more than 20% of your daily intake, then just put it aside. You could probably easily find a different snack that you could eat and feel better about yourself after, right? Now, another absolute demon for sugar is beverages, because you drink like soda, you drink your Arizona iced tea, you drink your Diet Pepsi, but it still has a ton of sugar in it. You want to avoid prepackaged sodas and sweet drinks like this as much as possible. Maybe you can have them like once a week if it's really something that you love, but you want to try and start replacing them with low sugar flavored beverages, and eventually just water. Like at first, maybe you go down to say like just lemon, or say something like vitamin water, right? Something that has low sugar. But then eventually you just want to go back to water, because these drinks that have low sugar actually have unnatural artificial sweeteners in them, and they are still bad for your heart. So transition out. One more thing, sports drinks are not healthy. You should only be drinking sports drinks after like insanely tough bouts of exercise, like after you run like 5 miles or something, after you've raced like if you raced a 5K, okay, fine, get yourself a sports drink. But otherwise, do not drink them on the daily. I know they taste good, but that's because they have a ton of sugar and salt in them, and your body loves that. Which actually leads me to the next thing. But wait, I need to talk about dessert first. You already know, because dessert is one of the leading culprits of sugar, and it's something that's part of your routine, which can actually kill you. Because a lot of people will have dessert after like every meal. After every dinner, they'll have like some kind of dessert, which adds up so much over time. Do yourself a favor and cut back on your sugar. Just try and stop eating desserts every single day after dinner. If you want to give yourself, say, like a little piece of dark chocolate, that's fine. If you want to eat a slice of cake once a month, that's fine. You don't have to completely cut it out, but stop doing it every single day, because that is when it catches up to you and really starts putting in the work. The next monster you need to be avoiding is salt. I feel like everyone knows that too much of this is bad for them, but no one knows is actually how to stop eating it. Well, you can start with actually knowing the severity of the effects of eating too much salt, which can include enlarged heart muscle, headaches, kidney disease, osteoporosis, stroke, high blood pressure, kidney stones, and even heart failure. I have personal experience with this because my own grandmother was eating too much salt in her diet, and she actually ended up having a stroke that sent her to the hospital, and she thankfully survived from. But to this day, it's kind of shaped my understanding of diet and made me want to be way more mindful about my salt. Salt can kill you. Don't let it creep up on you. And if you think you don't have a problem with it, figure on this. About 9 out of 10 Americans eat too much salt per day. And most people eat more than double the amount of salt that you should be eating. So how can we decrease the salt intake? Right? So start again by looking at the nutrition labels on the back of the food you buy. If you see that the salt is like more than 20% and it's something that you're going to be snacking on regularly, just buy something else. It's not worth the salt, and there's often low salt alternatives that are very easy to buy and taste nearly as good, right? Another statistic for you is that more than 70% of the salt you eat comes from restaurant and processed food. So if you can cut down on those two things, meaning eat out a little bit less, and try when you get snacks to reach for the more organic foods rather than your processed potato chips, then you can actually cut off 2/3 of your salt in one fell swoop. So finally, a little tip is stop decreasing the amount of salt you add to things. If you feel like something needs more flavor, instead add a little pepper or a little spice or a little herbs instead of just pouring salt on there. It's super simple and it'll make it taste better, and you can feel better about yourself. Now, the next monster you need to be avoiding is bad fats. So I just told you that fats give you energy. Well, that's just good fats. There's other type of fats that are bad for you called trans fats and saturated fats. Trans fats aren't as big of an issue anymore because they were effectively banned by the FDA ever since 2020. So you won't be getting them in your store-bought foods anymore. However, unsaturated fats are still the healthiest option, and saturated fats should be avoided whenever possible. They're still in many foods, including fried foods, red meat, high dairy foods, and ice cream, which you shouldn't be eating anyway because it has way too much sugar. So you want to just be mindful of the saturated fat that you're intaking and try to replace them with better fats. Or if you need to, at least spread out how often you're eating these things. Alright, so that's the general gist of a healthy diet. But it also could be very useful to know what you might eat in a day. So here's what a day of eating for me might look like, so that you can kind of model your meals off of it and get a better idea of what kind of things you should be eating. So for breakfast, I usually eat about an hour after I wake up, which is better for your metabolism. And that might look for me like a 2-egg omelet with a side of toast with some jam on top of it. Or maybe a bagel with peanut butter and bananas on top, and then a side of, say, some cottage cheese with a little fruit in there, right? A lunch for me might look like chicken, broccoli, and rice, which is your stereotypical bodybuilder meal, but it's actually delicious, so don't actually opt me for it. Overloaded burrito on a whole wheat wrap. I love those things. You can put whatever you want in there, it's so customizable. And also, something I discovered recently, sweet potato with chicken and cheese on top. Trust me, try it, you won't regret it. Alright, and then some dinner examples are salmon with quinoa and asparagus on the side, chicken with whole grain potatoes or whole grain pasta, and green beans. Pork tenderloin with potatoes and vegetables. All those things are staples in my diet, and I encourage you to make it staples in yours. Alright, so now you have your dietary plan of attack. Implement these changes in slow digestible waves rather than all at once in a way that you can't keep up with it. I personally did it all in one wave, but it's definitely not the best way, and you'll feel it way more maintainable if you just do it a little bit at a time. So, one final word about eating out with your friends. So, if you go out with your friends and they're always eating like trash, you're gonna want to eat like trash too. Don't lie to yourself. It's really hard to resist peer pressure. Of course, eating food that's not the best for you once in a while is okay, and I'm all for moderation. But if your whole friend group goes out and eats junk food like multiple times per week and they're dragging you out there with them and pulling you down, you either need to ask for different hangouts, work up the courage to order something healthy, or if none of that works, you might need to find a different group of friends. Trust me, I know that it's hard, but once you start building your identity as a healthy eater, it'll only get easier and easier as you go. Over time, it will be worth it for your mood and your life. Don't let your friends hold you back from what you could be. Don't let this video fall into the depths of your YouTube history. Make sure to rewatch it and take notes. If you liked, please like and subscribe. If you have something to share, drop a comment. Every subscriber counts. I'm a one-man team balancing this with work and school and sports, and I'm just trying to put out the best content for you possible, and any of this help that I can receive is tremendously important to me. Right? Now get to work, right? Get out there, start improving your diet. Never surrender. This has been Zen Tech. Stay Zen.